Well, I don't know. I'm just going to actually get into it and just say this was one of the best films I've seen in a half a year at least.
I
Because
don't
you
disagree.
absolutely did not know what was going to happen, and I just it's about how you craft a film. It's how you put together the shots to make you believe something. And you start out, oh, he shaved his mustache off. Oh, wait, his wife says his wife didn't have a mustache. No, is he's sane and the wife's crazy? No, the wife's crazy and he's sane. No, wait, he's crazy and she's sane. And it's like, and then you think they're both nuts, and you think he's imagining it all. It's great.
The shot
It's
behind Chris,
Videodrome.
the shot behind Chris is so good.
It is.
It's fucking Videodrome.
It is. It was just.
Although the thing about Videodrome is that the camera shows you things that are clearly nuts.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, he just put a gun in his stomach. That's clearly nuts. But what
Right.
this movie did was, it's the more. I mean, I think I walked away from this going, we're watching this poor man like lose his fucking mind.
I'm guessing.
And like they do it in a very sort of mundane way, which almost makes it scarier.
Yeah,
Right.
just all I did is shave a mustache off, and then that everything just steamrolls. It's
But
the best.
but the camera there's a couple of times where I felt like, okay, I'm being lied to right now. And one of them is when he goes to get like his passport photo or whatever taken, and he shows that the woman is like, do you see what the difference is? And she's like, what, the mustache? And so I guess I got to leave that scene going, well, maybe is it just him pushing his version of this on us? It's, we've talked about the movies where it's the tale of an unreliable narrator.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what's going on here. But again, I walked away from it going, this is a sad story about a man losing his fucking mind.
I think you might be right, Chris. I think this is the unusual circumstance where you have both an unreliable narrator of sorts and an unreliable story surrounding him. It's like both.
Not all. I mean, there's a couple of scenes where I feel like the filmmaker is trying to push doubt, where maybe by that point in the film you're on one side of the fence or you're not.
Oh, it's complete manipulation. It's like I said, It's the way the film was put together. It manipulates you almost by the minute to wonder who's telling the truth.
No one's telling the truth.
No one's telling the truth.
Or everyone's telling the truth.
Yeah, exactly.
Like this whole thing's an allegory for having a midlife crisis. Like that's what this is. Like he doesn't recognize the world around him anymore because he's having a midlife crisis.
Mm-hmm.
Like and so to me this whole thing was fiction. Like in the world it's fiction. Like it's so I just kind of like strapped in and went with it.
Mm-hmm.
Like I didn't really question anything after literally after like 5 minutes into the movie when she's like, oh, you never had a mustache. I'm like, well, this is fucking like whatever, man. Like I'm just gonna go.
Yeah,
exactly. I'm just gonna let this happen to me.
Yeah. Does that wash over you? That's what I think that's the intention.
True. I think you're right, Tad. This is like a midlife crisis type of thing. Mm-hmm. It's just done in such I love the existential bent to it. And
I love the mundane surrealism of it.
Yeah.
So both
be more French.
Because it's extremely surreal, but it's the most French realism surrealness you've ever seen.
All that shit on the ferry,
mm-hmm.
That's where it like for me it kind of went from like really good to really fucking good, because it's just like you said, it's like this weird mundane surrealism.
Kept going back and forth.
Going
up and down.
And then he goes and pays those other guys to take him back.
I know. You get up and down that ramp like 15 times, it felt like,
Yeah, and I'm like, at one point I was like, am I just falling asleep and waking up and paused or something? Like,
but again, that's masterful filmmaking. That is like, you finally get to the point where the literal narrative flow breaks down and the poor guy's like stuck like in a loop. And you're seeing this scene over and over.
Stuck, though. This is his choice.
Is it? I mean, are we seeing?
I think the world is happening to him. Yeah, I don't think he's affecting the world. I think the world's happening to him.
Yeah. Well, we don't know whether or not the filmmaker is selectively editing out what he's doing every day, or this is what he's experiencing. He's always is going back and forth between the island and Kowloon, back and forth.
He's not the protagonist of history, which is like something that's very uncommon for films. You know, like
right.
like he's the main character, but like the world is happening to him. He's
Right.
not.
Yeah.
Right.
He's not.
He's a reactor.
Right. His decisions do not affect what is happening, and in
And-
fact
Well,
will
look
go completely contrary to what's actually happening.
What's behind Scott was so interesting too, because he pulls out the Bali
Pictures from
clip,
Bali, yeah.
But
and then he leaves it out, and
And
then it disappears.
it
she
just
clearly
disappears.
takes them and
Yeah.
says nothing.
No, and also she never makes comment. It's like she doesn't see them.
Right.
Yeah.
Now this goes back to the whole like, is she gaslighting him? You
Right.
know,
But he
it's
asked her
like-
straight up at one point. He says, "What'd you do with the photos?"
I think she said something equivalent of what photos, but
Yeah,
Right.
Like,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's the point where it sort of became the prisoner to
yeah,
me.
oh, a little
Like-
bit. I can see
Yeah.
Like I
that.
kept expecting the balloon to come in from off
Well,
screen.
But
Like,
I loved also their relationship.
God damn it, Chris.
That's a
There's
mustache.
that point. There's that point where he comes home and she's been doing maybe like yoga or something,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
it's
She's
a
not thrilled to
lovely-
see him.
Yeah, it's a lovely scene because you can tell they love each other,
Mm,
but he wants to talk, and she says, "I don't think that would be good right now," or something like that.
Yeah.
And he says, "Yes, you're right." And then they say, "Okay, what do you want to do?" I don't know. There's just, and can we just mention first of all how great Philip Glass's score is here?
Oh,
yeah.
see, I was actually going to say that that's one of the things I don't like about it. I
Really?
think this
Oh,
is
I
a
loved it.
lesser.
It
I think
comes
this is a
in-
lesser Glass.
Well,
Well,
it's not quite a Scotsy, but
Exactly.
I know it's not. I know it's not his,
Mhm.
regular thing. But I think that this filmmaker
I liked it.
wanted to get him in there because he wanted to use it at specific times. And I think
It's
that's
not
what-
terrible. It's not like the music from the fucking Teenagers from Outer Space, which was like I wanted to just kill myself.
Well, that's like Desi.
But do you remember? Do you remember when they went out to dinner after that scene I'm talking about, and it swells up during their conversation? I
Yeah.
love that. It's so unconventional, but it works.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And I think I can't remember his name. The main character's acting is above and beyond.
Oh yeah,
Like there's good acting throughout this film, but he's on another plane
yeah, he is.
during
He's-
this.
Yeah, well, he's
compared to
got
everyone
nothing
else.
but
A lot of good eye acting.
oh yeah.
This
And-
is haunted.
Yeah, well, no, yeah, he definitely has. He oh my goodness! Speaking of,
Whoa,
speaking
look
of
at
mustache
all
off,
that-
John.
Whoa! You got the wrong opposite, dude. You took the.
What are you talking about? I look completely the
never-
same.
John never had a mustache.
Okay, now I have to go
don't
back
know
and
the mustache.
Look at
I
the
don't
old
notice
footage here. Well, you did that on purpose, John. You went late just to freak us out, didn't you?
Fuck yeah.
That's great.
I had to ask Jared. I had to call Jared an hour ago and tell him to do La Mustache first.
All right. Well, okay, John, you win.
Pretty good.
You win. Okay.
Come on, man. What you're you slacker? What's wrong with you, Scott?
I don't know. It's a lot of work. I'm just lazy.
By the way, you look really good, man.
It does look nice. It
I haven't
shaved like
seen
5
you
years
do
off.
it in a while.
Uh-huh.
It's been a long time. Sheila made me grow the goatee after she saw Kenneth Branagh in Much Ado About Nothing. So that tells you how
Oh.
long I've had that fucking goatee.
Like
That is the best
96.
goatee, though, maybe of all time.
It may be.
I
Yeah.
just delight kids in Christmas time, so I usually leave it on. So it's
I don't know. I really like Bomani Jones's current goatee. I don't know if anybody's watching Game Theory on HBO,
no.
but he's got
Actually,
absolute pencil.
second best though is Ray Liotta.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah,
Like
get
it
one of
was
those-
drawn on. Huh?
Yeah, get that Clark Gable going, dude. That'd be so interesting.
Right.
Where are you going
It's a
now?
blank canvas. I can do anything I want now.
Okay. All right. Anyway, we were talking about the mustache.
Her
Yes.
fingers.
Hey, you want to jump in? Anything to say about it?
And Chris is
We
still
all
putting
seem to
stupid
like-
photos up.
Yeah. Wait a minute. What's going on here?
That's the
Wait, he's got
mustache.
great mustaches up behind him.
See how much it
What-
scares Sally Field?
What do I want to say about
You
it?
missed my lead off.
Oh, I think it's like you
Nice.
should call it eyebrows.
All right.
Yeah. Oh, that was going to be my screenshot as well. Actually, I've got another one. I'll pull it up in a minute. But shit, man, this is a well-made film. It is. I mean, it's an unreliable narrator
Yeah,
story.
we talked about that. Yeah.
We were
Fucking
going back
A.
and forth on that.
Well,
Yeah,
I
see, I
mean,
don't think it's an unreliable narrator. I think it's an unreliable world.
yes.
I think it's both. And I think
I
it's
can't
both.
tell.
I think it's both.
If he's the main character, we see things from his point of view, but his point of view seems to be completely inconsistent.
and shifting at,
I think
odd
he's losing
moments.
his mind.
It's an unreliable filmmaker, which is maybe a different thing from unreliable narrator.
There's a point where I thought it was just turning into a garden variety thriller. It's like, oh, his wife's gaslighting him. She's having an affair with the guy from work, and they're just going to drug him and put him in a straitjacket and haul him off. But no.
It is definitely not that movie, and
It
that's
is not
for
that-
the best. That's for the best.
Oh,
That's not-
God, yes.
Yeah. And the thing is, I was
There's a
delighted. I
point
guess
where there's a point where he's
'Cause
talking.
that's just a Columbo episode.
talking about.
On LSD.
There's a point where he's talking about calling his parents, and that was such a great scene
Mhm.
where
Your dad's been dead for a year.
I mean,
that's,
okay.
that's when it's
Yes.
like,
Oh
it's
my
not about the
God.
mustache anymore.
Yeah, it's exactly. This is
Yeah.
a
that
whole
was
different
like
thing.
holy shit.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Now, if it was a psychological study of a guy who's basically going through midlife crisis and or cracking up entirely, I mean, that's one explanation. It's kind of valid.
But the world, it's a diamond, right? So the
Right.
world comes back together at the end.
It does.
It's like a Simpsons. Yeah, it's like a Simpsons episode.
Yeah, he
Everything
does
has to
have
go
the
back to
mustache
where.
at the end, which was amazing.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's like his timeline separated from reality. He went down over here, and then he comes back into it in.
So you think she's in the hotel room with him?
Yes,
Huh.
yes.
Well, she was at the end.
I could go either way on that one.
So you think it's a delusion?
I think it's I walked away thinking it was a friggin' delusion.
No, I think it's very much a Simpsons. I think it's very much everything has to go back to normal at the end of the episode. Like
Yeah.
I think it's that's the reason that I'm pushing that it's an allegory for a midlife crisis is because he has this midlife crisis, and then when he's through with it, he's back to reality.
Mm.
Like that's the
I don't know how you. And I'm glad John put that screenshot up. I thought that was also a great.
It was.
That is symbolic of the entire movie. That's like what they say. Every scene should sort of encapsulate what the entire theme of the movie is about. This shot encapsulates what the movie.
How do
is
you
about.
get from that and then the boat, and then how long has he been on that island growing that scrub? Like, how do you get from all that back to everything's fine?
because I don't think that happened.
I agree with Tad, but
I don't think any of that happened. Like that's the thing. He's in a different timeline.
Well,
you know,
what's wonderful
mentally, he's in a different timeline. Like they've had a normal couple of weeks. They've gone to on vacation, and he comes back into reality 2 weeks later, whatever it is.
So the
you
whole
know,
thing is
like-
basically a fugue. It's a fugue state,
the-
basically, right?
The midlife crisis study, I think, is true.
Uh-huh.
But just from a filmmaking standpoint or a script standpoint, there's another level, an element to this.
Well, that's what makes it great. That's what
Exactly.
takes it from being. That's what takes it from being sort of.
It's the absurdity and the
Yeah.
surrealistic that takes us to another level where you're like, you can't actually pinpoint anything for sure.
Yeah, mundane surrealism is the name of the game here, and it's great. Like it's really like I'm a big fan of surrealist art and surrealist cinema and things like that, and I really liked how grounded all of this was while being so fucking weird.
Which is
Oh,
hard.
yeah,
to do.
it's a
Hard to
storytelling
do that.
technique.
It's weird in its
Mundanity.
in its content, but it's shot very
It's
straightforward
surreal
way.
without actually. There's no visual effects to this at all.
Right.
Yeah,
It's actually quite a good looking film, though.
It is. That's very.
Yeah,
Which is more effective because it kind of goes under the radar for you as a consumer of the moving image, because you're not expecting anything weird to happen because nothing looks weird.
No, that's
facts that are unfolding are completely surreal.
That's why I'm pointing at the surrealism so much, is because I like, as somebody who loves surrealism, like watching somebody do it in a very, very different way that is still 100% effective in being surreal is fantastic.
Well, this is interesting that you can trace a line between this film and say, this is interesting. I think you'll like this, Jared, is Back to the Future. Because it's a straightforward story, time travel thing with the parents like that. But behind all of this, the filmmakers have a very exact idea of what they're telling you and what they're revealing at what time. And there's a linear timeline in that film. There's a mental timeline in this film. The filmmaker always knows to show you exactly enough in the right way to throw you off every time. it's kind of neat. It's almost like a thrill ride.
It's
It-
a Rubik's cube. It's a Rubik's cube where like one corner of each side is the wrong color.
Yeah, exactly
I
right.
think you're right. I
Yeah.
think you're right, Scott. This script is so clever that it gets you right to a point where you're like, I think I'm going to discover something right now.
No,
And you don't.
And then it says, nope,
No.
we're going to go over here instead.
Denied.
Right.
That's
No,
enough.
You
you
are
just-
denied.
I mean, that
it's-
is goddamn great writing and goddamn
It's the
great direction.
dollar. It's the dollar on a string.
Mhm.
Like every
Yeah.
time you bend down to pick it up, he
Pulling
pulls
it
It is.
forward.
It is. It is.
Okay,
The
so-
whole
so-
film was like that.
So that's not a flaw, because this is the thing I was complaining about while we were watching it, was like he went to the photo albums and he found the pictures of the Bali vacation where he clearly had a mustache, but he
Clearly.
never opens it and holds it up to his wife and goes, "Look,
Right.
I had a mustache." The only person in the whole movie that he says, "Look at this picture, I had a mustache," is a
girl
complete,
on the photo album.
stranger.
I know.
He
Well-
doesn't use the one thing he has, which is those photos.
Which is
But
a
he
way
tries
of
to act
validating
on
the
it later, and they've disappeared.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The girl, they're showing the thing to the whatever she was. She was
Like
Like
photo.
a TSA agent.
The photo booth lady. Yeah.
the thing is that it just that verified the presence of intrinsic reality. Look, this normal person from nowhere knows I had a mustache.
Mhm.
So
But
you're,
that's
as a
where I thought
viewer,
the
you're
movie
brought back
was
in and says,
gonna be
"Okay, I know
so
what's happening." And a little while later,
When
it's
it-
like
when
you
it's-
find out
when
about the parents, and it's like,
Yes.
"Oh boy."
Yes. Right.
This movie is actually better than I ever thought it would be, because honestly, I just loved the idea of a dude shaving his mustache and everything changes for him.
Yes.
It sounds like a short film. The premise is
It is.
film idea,
Yeah.
and yet it sustains itself.
No, when I had to explain this, when I had to explain this to people, I didn't want to give any of it away, so I would just said it's the story of a movie where a guy shaves his mustache and then his whole world falls apart.
Yes.
That's a good summary.
And yeah, this went deeper and better than I ever thought it could be.
John
It's
Hardy.
like-
Also, if I want to run away from a world in general, I'd end up in a fishing village outside of Hong Kong. I mean, talk about the middle of nowhere. That was such a neat.
Well, he was an architect. He was working over there.
Yeah.
I would go to just regular ass Hong Kong.
Yeah.
Like,
We can easily
you want to
get
get
lost.
lost.
in Hong Kong.
You want to get lost
Lost
somewhere.
Yeah, I go hang
Oh,
out.
yeah, end up in a
Yeah.
long car wife and get your head blown off.
Right.
John, I mentioned before you showed up that, I mean, like, this is the kind of thing Cronenberg's done a couple of times, right? Whether it's Videodrome or Spider. And Videodrome, like, it's very clear I'm seeing something that's probably a hallucination because I just watched James Woods put a gun in his stomach.
Yeah.
And Spider,
And use it later.
but that's where he's made a choice that he's going to sort of lean into, like what Tad mentioned earlier. Like, this is surreal. Like there's some weird shit going on right now.
Mhm.
And I think just because this movie avoided all of that, I found it honestly more disturbing because I walked away from this movie not thinking like Tad did that everything's going to go back, but I think this is a movie about a guy losing his marbles.
Yeah.
And
In
we're
fact,
not-
you might be.
I mean, I think that's an equally valid.
It is.
I think like the ending is
You can have
ambiguous
both of
enough.
those takes, and they're valid. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
could have
That's true,
hallucinated the very
because I
last
mean,
scene.
just because he's come to what looks like a resting point, he's come back to point A.
Mhm.
The rug could be pulled out from under him again, right?
Yeah.
I mean, when I
It's like
read-
it's like the argument they have in The Negotiator about whether or not Shane dies at the end of Shane. Like that's
Oh, yeah.
it's very much that, as you could interpret it either way.
but I mean, like, if you
And
if
what
you read
Scott
about
pointed out
people,
earlier was the way it's shot is so realistic and beautiful. There's nothing visually to nod you one way or another.
To tip
Yeah.
you off. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
and again, if you read about people who get, like, dementia or Alzheimer's or whatever, like, it's what they go through is horrifying and also sort of mundane, right? Like, they forget things and they can't remember what they did 2 hours. Like,
It's
so if you
extremely common for people who have dementia to become violent because they feel like the people in their life are fucking with them.
fucking with
Right.
them,
Yeah.
Right.
and that's when you could see he's starting to get frustrated.
Oh yeah.
Like, you totally get it.
The
Yeah.
acting in the
And-
first part of this movie, and you may have covered this already, when it's just it's before things have gone really off the rails, and he's just like, my wife hasn't noticed, and we went to dinner with our friends and they didn't notice. He's so
Slow
pissed
burn.
off.
Yeah.
But the way he sits there at the dinner party, just
The sulking.
no, I'm not sulking, looking at them, waiting for them to see it, and they don't fucking see it. It's good, man. It's good acting.
It is.
Well, and,
And he probably says something on the car ride on the way home, and that's when you realize, oh, this is not good.
Yeah.
Well, so the thing is,
Not good.
the thing is, like, with that, you were talking about, oh, why didn't he use the picture? Because he didn't want to get into a fight with her again.
Right.
Because every time he's tried to be like, no, I had a mustache,
It
they've
goes
gotten
very
into a
badly.
fight.
That's
Yeah,
why
it goes
she
very
said. That's why
badly.
she says that one scene. I don't think we can talk right now,
Right.
Yeah,
and we should go. You should go see the therapist
as soon as possible.
Yes.
Yeah.
Tonight we should just go out to dinner.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, and
Yeah.
I also wonder if the recurring you should take a sleeping pill, or I'm going to take a sleeping pill, like it makes it sort of worms its way into the back of your head as like, is this a dream? Like the just constant reference to the sleeping pills. And it does have nightmare logic. Like, this movie does have nightmare logic.
If you're, it's like trying to go somewhere in a dream. You never get there.
Or read something.
I mean, by the time he's searching for his parents' house, it's full on nightmare time.
Yeah, exactly. That's so. Golly.
Yeah, no, I thought this was one of those that improves over days since,
as you think about it. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I know. It worked in my brain a bit, and it's outstanding.
How about that segment where he just takes the ferry back and forth from Kowloon to?
We covered that earlier, but it's just like,
God damn.
Does that represent the full breakdown of the mentality of his mentality?
I thought so.
Or is
if
it?
I didn't have, by the way,
purgatory.
I'm going to just go back to something that Chris
Or
said.
is it weird determination of some weird kind?
Yeah.
I think it's
Or
him trying to take
compulsive.
control. I think it's him trying to take control of his life again.
Yeah, maybe.
Because he's trying to have one thing that he's in control of, and it's whether or not he's going back and forth.
Yeah.
Right. But I want to go back to something that Chris said a second ago, which is this: it gets better the more you think about it.
Yeah.
I've mentioned obviously a number of times that I often watch these movies right before we record. Like, I'm usually finishing one of them up right before. I had to take somebody to the airport today, so I couldn't do that. So I watched this morning. If I didn't have that drive back from the airport with like rain and all that stuff, and it really started to work its way around in my brain, I would have had a much worse opinion of this movie.
Really?
If you'd asked me at 11 o'clock this morning than I do now.
Because it worked on you a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I kind of shrugged it off when I first saw it. I was like, okay, that didn't make sense.
When I first thought, I was just too impressed by the technical wizardry going there. The way it's put together in terms of, I was just so impressed by that. But later on, I started having an emotional reaction to it. It's like, later on, it's like, wow.
I love that. Disturbing.
And I agree with Tad. And I agree with Tad. The acting is so phenomenal in this whole movie.
And he's on another level.
Yeah,
everybody's acting's great.
You guys notice
up here
whenever he was when this is all starting to really spin up, every time he gets the shaver out, it's almost like he's avoiding that area.
Yeah.
He had to decide. It's like, am I going to grow it back, or am I going to shave it again?
Or am I avoiding that area because I'm worried that there was something under there?
It became central to his existence.
He is on a level, but also what a phenomenal casting job, because this man's body and face is exactly what you want to see in this kind of role. It just draws you. He's got some, but it's not obvious. It's not. It's just like the rest of the movie. It just fits.
He has a very middle-aged dad sexiness to him.
But he's handsome. He's attractive.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
But
that's what Sheila said. After he shaved, he's like, oh, he's handsome.
Yeah.
But it's not overt.
In a pack of Deloises a day.
I would be remiss if I didn't say his body. His body is awesome. He's a very attractive dude.
Yeah, well, he's just
a lot of the times you watch movies like this, and you've got like a 45-year-old dude who's with like a 26-year-old woman, and you're like, what? Oh, fuck you. No. Like, this guy, you can see it. You can totally see it.
Yeah.
Not that much younger than him.
No, she's not. But I'm just saying, this is what he's one of those guys where, if that was what was going on, I would be very much like, yeah, no, I
can see that.
Yeah.
Right.
But one last
guy's dad hot.
One last thought before I go. The one thing that I thought that was kind of an off mark for me, this is, why do they always have to be architects? Why?
I think that's a French thing.
Why is it professional equal architect in movies? It's over and over.
You're right. It is overdone. I was thinking that too when I saw their house. It's like, oh, nice house.
Architect is the guy with he uses his brain and doesn't have regular set hours. Basically, he runs things.
They barely.
I did have one stray thought when I was watching this, that this is the story of Cash if they don't start getting the videotapes. Like,
Oh, okay.
Right.
this is what happens. The alternate timeline where they don't start getting the videotapes. This happens to the dad from Cash.
Instead.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like that's because
Sure.
it's the same kind of story and it's the same kind of people.
I think
Yeah, it is.
Cache,
It
though,
is.
I think Cache, they're much more affluent than these people, though.
Well, sure, but I'm just saying in terms of like the type of these are, you know, these are upper middle class professionals whose life gets completely fucking flipped upside down in the Frenchest way possible. Like,
Well, I think you kind of have to set this in the middle class or the upper middle class
Right.
because
Oh, no, yeah,
these are
that's
the problems of identity that you have.
Yeah.
If you don't have the problems of, I'm not going to make rent,
Everything-
I lost my job.
if
You know.
if you're one of those guys who has to go out and fight the cops because they're trying to take away a vacation day, you're not this guy. You know?
Oh, yeah, it's not-
like,
Yeah.
I saw a guy in 280 who was driving a 60-year-old guy driving an Aston Martin. I'm saying that's a double, triple midlife crisis there, man. Anyway, thumbs, come on.
Oh,
I'll give this a thumbs up.
Oh, good
did
stuff.
this guy do anything else? The
Good question.
direction.
I don't know. I think he might have done